All right, everyone, welcome along. What we're going to do today is we're going to look at what we started back in 2022 with the English food hygiene. We had to update it, made some tweaks to make it, well, better now. Still got a lot of work to do with it, but we're going to revisit the starting points of it, the history of it, and where we are today with it. And then we'll start to discuss some of the options that we're going to look at in the future weeks. Champion. So, the England Food Hygiene Dataset is available from UK government, Food Standards Agency, really assessing every food establishment in England, Wales, Northern Ireland and Scotland to assess if they're fit to give out food, really, or to sell food. It's a nice little data set to go through, and I find it particularly useful. You know, if we're going to go out and I'm going to take the team out, or even, heaven forbid, I'm out visiting the client site, it's nice to know where we can go to eat afterwards or at lunchtime. So what have we done with it? What was the purposes of it? So the initial view of it, week one we did way back when in 2022, was around the use case that for many of our clients is the reality of where we engage with them with Power BI, which is somebody gets an extract somewhere, they take time, they produce a file from it, and they send that and distribute that around the business. Okay? Step one was kind of the automation of that within Power Query. Step two is to start to group those together and use SharePoint as a way of starting to actually collate those files over time. In our example, we used it as a regional filter that we could pick up a region's worth of data. And then lastly, we got the idea, well, we can actually now just pull everything through and have everything in there. And that's really useful. So that's what we did. However, nothing's ever simple, is it, long term? And it was changed. They switched to an API connector for it instead of using a web page based. There's a web page per region with every local authority listed. Now there's an API. So what it's meant is that we've had to actually just go and pull it from an initial location file. So you run the API, sends back an XML package. The XML package has effectively the list of files in it, and the same function that we wrote in week 3 of the first data set really takes you through how to do it and runs perfectly well against that. We've got that. That's their version 1 of the API. Apparently there's a version 2. Well, apparently there is a version 2. We are looking at that, and I'm trying to assess if we can get everything we need from it. I'm still not fully convinced. I'll keep doing some legwork. Might be a video for another day. But what we've got here so far are some really nice things. Great topic for us to go through. We've got 3, maybe 4 weeks worth of content to go in and actually really discuss in detail. So I've opened up the Power BI service, and this is the data flow that we've modified to deal with everything. So what we used to have was this pulling together all the other data flows. We don't need it now. The new system's just a single one. So what we're going to do, if we go in, we choose to edit the data flow, you can see what we're doing now. So we're running a single query stack, or a single query is run. Let's see, just going to zoom in, there we go. So we've got a single query running from here, and that produces this table of data. Okay, that table is what you use as the base piece for it. So you've got a list of local authority information, the codes, where they are, but way over here, you find we've got the file name that we're using. So that's what we're going to hand it over or into the function. Again, it's still the week 3 function that was written way back when. So if we go in the advanced editor, we can have a look and we can see what this is doing. So we can see it's going through, taking a file name as a parameter, and for the file name it just wants the XML piece of it. So we're stripping that out of that column that we had, and then it's going through and building a data set from that, or building the full list for each local authority from there. The result of that is simple enough. We end up then with a table with nearly 450,000 rows of data for every single food establishment in England. Really good, really simple. It just works. It's one of those ideal things. So hopefully they won't change the schema on us again, make anything suddenly stop working again. But we never know. I'm sure it'll happen. This is the result of our efforts, okay? We've got this report that allows us to really understand what is going on in any particular location. So if tomorrow I have to travel down to London, for example, I filter that to London, I could say, oh, the client I'm going to go and see is in City of London itself. We could then choose to zoom in on the City of London Corporation, and we can see these are the food establishments that are within it. But what we can do is we can see at any given point in time, oh, well, I'm around here, around Bartholomew's Crescent, or close, sorry. Well, I probably won't want to go and eat here, okay? Simple. Now is running, it is refreshing every time we want it to. I think I've said it at the minute, twice a week. It refreshes. What this has given us, though, is the capability of actually starting to look at a few things. One of the advantages with this is I set this up way long ago, back in 2022. So one of the things I was looking at back then was around metrics. Okay, so we are going to explore this more next week, but I want to kind of show you what I meant when we talk about metrics. So Power BI has this concept of metrics deeply embedded within it. Many of my clients struggle with this and they just aren't using it. And I'm not hearing any buzz around the industry of this, but whenever I look at it and we start looking in detail at it, I don't understand why. This is a real game changer for many businesses as to what they can do. So we're going to go into this in detail next week, but as a bit of a teaser, one of the things I wanted to show you is this. We've got a number of businesses. We can see a couple of clicks, how long or what the trend is in terms of the growth of the food industry or the food hygiene industry, in England from when this data set started. Now, the key thing to remember is, traditionally to do this, I would need a data warehouse set up that would snapshot everything that went on. I'm not doing this. This is pulling a snapshot of today to say, what's the historic looking like? Okay? We don't have any historic information on here to be able to say, this food establishment is open, it's changed hands, something else happened to it. That's all coming from this metrics capability. So we'll go in this in detail next week, but I wanted you to see it beforehand. So what do you reckon then? The England food hygiene data is basic enough, okay? In terms of the use case principles of, I've got somebody who spends half an hour a day building a couple of slides to send out to my exec or to managers or to team leads once or twice a day. Are you getting business value out of that? Are people reading that information? Are insights being derived from it? Or are you wasting time, effort, and money with it? We can automate it very simply. And there's ways within Power BI, within Excel, that you can just do that. If you're O365, with you've got O365 subscriptions, you can use Power Automate to actually be able to send out the results of something like that. So you can have everything worked through and sent on. You don't necessarily have to go down the route of saying we want to bring in Power Automate or even Power BI, sorry. But even just Power Query with a SharePoint online list and having it start to collate through and go through and refreshing it, so somebody just has to open it and hit refresh once or twice a day, saves so much time and effort. Getting your business moving more efficiently will help. Okay, as I say, saving them up, having everything like the daily snapshot saved to SharePoint list where somebody is then going to automatically be sent out. You can use Power Automate Desktop now as well to do that, push the button for you, so nobody actually has to even push the button and then send on those results. It's there if you want to do it. Moving it forward to the next level, using Power BI Desktop like we've done here, it is a game changer for a business. Suddenly, instead of that being a standard pack that's going out once or twice a week, or even once or twice a day, people are able to actually draw and infer information based on what they are seeing because there's more detail. What you also get with Power BI that kind of these samples don't really do, and by the way, I will put a link down below in the video where you can click and explore this report pack for yourself. But one of the things that you can't really visualize is the capability of doing thin reporting. And that's what we are going to touch on, but not with this data set. It'll come more when we do one of the future data sets as well. And the last thing to look at is these metrics. Now, the metrics in the Power BI service just do not get enough attention. For what they are, what they bring to the table for a business, right, it is huge, okay? In terms of that, you saw there was a trend in terms of the count of businesses that we had. We can put trends on anything, and that's built within the service. It's not something that's coming from me having a third party or an additional component. It's just all there, part of what I'm paying for. From there, what people can do is they check in the insight. So they would check in their measures. So if you think I've got somebody periodically building a PowerPoint presentation that then gets presented to the board, and then they don't really look at it, but they add a couple of comments to it, it can all be in there, embedded in the Power BI service. People can just look at it. What more would you want? So stick with the channel. Stay involved. Don't forget, add your comments. Let me know what you think. Is metrics something that you've looked at all? Is it something that you go, I've never heard of this? Look forward to seeing what we're going to do next. And remember, we need your feedback on what we're doing so that it improves our consultancy. And of course, all our consultancy clients and what we're doing with them, we simplify it, we anonymize it. And that's really where we're getting the sources for a lot of what we're doing here. Everything that we're looking at here has come from challenges that I've seen and faced in the world of consultancy. So stick with us. Don't forget, like and subscribe. Support the channel if you can. Stay safe. Take care. Bye.